We're here in Las Vegas recovering Freedom Fest. Now you'll notice I have two mic flags here, NRA News of course, and Sun News, which I think is one of the coolest mic, I'm a mic flag nerd, Ezra Levant from Sun News in Canada. I'm a mic flag nerd, so I thank you very much for letting me borrow your mic flag, the one that you would use to interview others. First of all, nice to meet you in person, a huge fan of what you do. Talk about Sun News first of all.
Sure, I mean we were born in Canada about 3.5 years ago. People who love us and hate us call us Fox News North. They either mean it as an insult or a compliment. Right. We're proudly Canadian. We're conservative, which means we're sort of the dissident media outlet in Canada. We're rebel journalists because Canadian media is a wasteland of liberal sameness. It's not even so much that it's liberal, it's that it's all the same on the divisive issues of our day, whether it's the theory of man-made global warming, gun control, the war on terror. The rest of the media are all a pack. Just out of simple diversity, I think our channel is important. Obviously, I say that I work there, but we've finally given a new point of view to a lot of Canadians who only had the same choice before.
You know, and Ezra, as you talk about that, you talk about things like gun control and things, of course, we talk about it in NRA News and issues of freedom. I find, and I think of Canadians, you think of it's very liberal, like you said, and it's Montreal and it's Toronto. But on Twitter, we get so many interactions from people maybe in the western part, in Edmonton, and in Saskatchewan. There's a very huge conservative base in Canada that I think I knew that I didn't even know about, and I don't think people, especially here in the lower 48, understand.
Well, we've actually elected our prime minister since 2006 has been a conservative guy. So conservative that in that last 8 years, he has slowly, incrementally moved the country to the right, just at the same time as your country is incrementally being moved to the left. So we have got our deficit wrestled down to zero, our debt is coming down, we have no big new entitlement programs, we repealed our firearms registry. In foreign affairs, we have a more conservative approach, freedom-oriented approach. Our income tax is lower than America's, which is incredible. In so many ways, we have moved just a degree at a time to the right, while, to my deep regret, America has moved a degree at a time to the left. So even though the elite political culture in Canada is still liberal, you've got I wouldn't call it a majority, but a large working minority that's pro-freedom, pro-conservative. And especially some of the places you mentioned, firearms ownership is 30–40%, which is not bad for a country that has had a culture hostile to firearms ownership.
Of course, we did, of course, and I know you did, you talked about the repeal of the long gun registry. What has happened from that? There's been it hasn't been a disaster, I would imagine. Of course, it's been a great thing for Canada, which is, I'm sure the other side would have expected not to be.
Well, I mean, listen, the firearms registry didn't make a difference when it was brought in. It didn't make a difference when it was taken out. Right. Because obviously, gun crime in Canada, although it's smaller in proportion and smaller in absolute numbers, it follows some of the similar patterns as gun crime in the United States. It's not farmers, duck hunters, people protecting their homes who are committing the gun crime. It's certainly not long arms. It's handguns, it's gang violence, it's downtown. So when you have a long gun registry, that was a punitive way of sticking a thumb in the eye of rural or Western Canadian voters. It actually was not a crime control initiative at all. It was an explicit part of the culture war. And so the repeal of the long arm registry has had zero effect on gun crime in the country because it actually, in my opinion, was a political act of submission, making gun owners morally, politically, their citizenship, pushing them down and subjugating them. To this day, there are remnants of this ideology in Canadian politics and law. Let me give you a quick example. A year ago, in the small city of High River, Alberta, town of High River, there was a flood, and the city had to evacuate. While they were going through the city looking for people stranded, our federal police, the RCMP, smashed down with their boots more than 1,000 doors of homes in this abandoned town, searching for firearms and confiscating them without the color of law, without any search warrant, without any right to do so under the Emergency Act. And they knew which homes to go to. So this has caused a number of people to fear that the firearms registry, although it was ordered destroyed by the Parliament, that it may still exist, and this bizarre opportunistic gun confiscation that our channel blew the whistle on. We actually made a whole documentary on it. So there are remnants of this anti-gun culture, even though we've repealed our Firearms Act. I hope that's not too much detail about that, but that was a case of a town where the police took everyone out for their own safety, and then they went door to door, smashing down doors, searching the house, stomping through the house in their muddy boots, looking for guns. That happened in 2013. That's scary.
Ezra, talk about, there's so much discussion right now in our country about Obamacare. Talk about Canadian healthcare versus what's going to happen or what's going in the future for us here at Obamacare.
Well, get ready for two things. Get ready for waiting lines and shortages, and get ready for health tourism. On the first point, I mean, you go to any emergency room in Canada, you will wait 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. In fact, different hospitals have internet sites telling you how long the wait is, basically designed to make you not even go. I mean, I've got 3 kids, and we check the waiting list at our local hospital, and it's designed to make you say, well, 3 hours there, let's not even go. Like, it's designed to kill demand, and that's at an emergency room.
Right.
Once you actually see the doctor, the waiting time to get to a specialist or to get the surgery, depending on what medical operation you may need, and depending what province you're in, could be more than a year. That's called rationing. It's free, but you better wait in line for a year to get it, because that's what happens when you take the free market out of it and have the government run it. So get ready for rationing, non-price rationing. Waiting lists, do you know a friend of a friend? And then the second thing is, people who are wealthy are obviously going to buy their way out of the system.
Right.
Right now, we fly to your Mayo Clinic. We fly elsewhere. Well, you may see if Obamacare has the same impact in the United States as we have in Canada, you may see wealthy Americans saying, you know what, I'm going to choose my own doctor whether Obama says I can or not. I'm just going to fly to who knows where. Some European fly to Switzerland. So the very wealthy will always be able to buy their way out of the lineup. The rest of us are going to have to wait in line like they did in the old Soviet Union for toilet paper.
What a thought, Ezra. Talk about what's going on here at Freedom Fest, and you talk about freedoms in Canada, freedoms in America. When you think about freedoms in America, what do you think?
Well, for me, the most important freedom is the First Amendment, because that one allows you to argue for the others. You might say the Second Amendment is the most important because that's what you actually defend the other's worth, and I would find that a compelling argument, so maybe the first and the second together. In Canada, I believe our lack of a First Amendment has caused all sorts of other problems, though, because if you speak out too much, if you protest too much, the government can censor you through various laws. Our defamation laws are tilted towards censorship. We have hate speech laws. Again, hate is a human emotion. It's not a violent act. Everyone has the human emotion of hate sometimes. To criminalize that feeling is absurd. It would be as absurd as criminalizing love. So we have all these thought crimes and feeling crimes that would never withstand your Bill of Rights. So that's of interest to me because I've been caught up in these First Amendment issues. At the end of the day, when things hit the fan, you do rely on that Second Amendment, and again, America is stronger that way. These are not just abstract writings on an old piece of parchment.
Right.
These are things that govern life every day. And human nature is to love freedom, but there's a number of people who love power over their neighbor. And so freedom naturally erodes all the time as bureaucrats and politicians accrete more and more power to themselves. That's why freedom is a never-ending battle to stop its erosion. And there are some people amongst us who want to take away your guns, take away your rights to make your decisions in your personal life, your health care, take away your freedoms. And I feel that acutely in Canada because I have been a target of the censorship. And so I'm glad there's Americans who care enough to have a whole conference about it.
Last question, Ezra. You're famous for your thoughts on climate change and global warming. When you talk about freedom of speech and you talk about media, let's talk about what the BBC just did, where they said, we're not even going to have people who doubt or who say there's no climate change. Even if, how you feel about it, the fact that you're going to censor an entire point of view on a network as huge as the BBC, that's just, it's got to make you nuts.
Well, and there's the real reason that bothers me, there's a few reasons. One is, obviously they're worried about those ideas. You don't censor ludicrous or wacky ideas, you laugh at them. You invite kooks on to make fun of them. if you are banning thoughtful scientific scholars who are dissenting, you're obviously afraid of them. So in a way, that's a sign how worried they are. But what really bothers me about the BBC is it's owned by the British government. So this is state censorship. Frankly, if someone were to use their own money to start their own TV or radio station and say, we're having no climate change skeptics, or we're only going to have climate change skeptics, I'd say free speech, private property, your own company, do what you want. The market will tell you if you got a winner on your hands. But when the government monopoly, that's what the BBC is. There are other channels, but they don't have the power of taxation. They don't have the power of the state, the authority, the imprimatur of the state. That's why that's especially dangerous, because they're saying there are some ideas that we will banish from the public square. That is un-British. British, the land of the Magna Carta, the land of John Milton, of Areopagitica, the land of Hyde Park, where you can say anything you want. For them to ban a point of view on science, since when does scientific debate end? We don't have a vote to end a debate. A true scientist loves being challenged because that's the iterative process of experimentation and trial and error that we lead to the truth. A true scientist would never want to stop a debate.
Ezra, your clips are on YouTube. It's easy to find you. What's the best way for people to see your stuff and follow you online and watch what you're doing? Because I personally think you do an amazing job up there.
Well, thank you very much. If you're in Canada, you can watch us on the Sun News Network. But if you're not, I put most of my TV stuff on my own website. So anywhere in the world, you can just click on it. It's just my name, Ezra Levant, EZRALEVANT.com. I talk about world events. Some of my stuff is probably for Canadians only, but some of the things are global themes, whether it's foreign affairs, the theory of man-made global warming. Sometimes we talk about gun control. So if folks are curious, they can go to EzraLevant.com and get a daily dose.
Ezra, thanks so much, and thank you for letting me borrow the amazing Sun News mic flag. We love it. Thanks. Good to meet you, sir.
Welcome. You too. Nice to meet you.